Hello, guys. How's it going? And as promised, I saw X. I saw it sooner than I anticipated. I had some stuff to deal with this weekend, but I chose to see it on the opening night and make some time to go see this movie because I saw the reviews and they are right. This is one of the best Saw movies they have made in a long time. I'm a longtime fan of this franchise, and I could tell you, in my honest opinion, 1 through 4 were probably some of the best that I've seen, and then 5 kind of was okay. 6 was surprisingly had a really good story inside of it, but then by 3D you understand that it takes a dip down a little bit because you could sense that the writers just wanted to finish up the movie. They wanted to put the final cap on it. They want to say, hey, you know what? To heck with it all. You guys have done it. So they put in a Lawrence Gordon cameo at the end just for fan service, closed up all the loose ends, or as what they could, because Saw writing, there's a lot of what ifs, loopholes that happen, which are definitely present in Saw X. Don't get me wrong. But after Saw 3D, I was just like, okay, show's over, let's go. Then they come out with Jigsaw, and then they come out with Spiral, and both of those were kind of just there. Now, Jigsaw, the traps were kind of so over the top that it just didn't make too much sense continuity wise. But Spiral, just as a standalone movie, was pretty interesting. I thought that it was good because it was just its own separate story, but it took place in the same universe. But you never expect the 10th one after so many kind of meh moments in the timeline in the franchise that you're going to get a gem like this. And that's what I feel like this is. It is an up there addition to some of the top ranked Saw movies in the franchise. I don't know if I would say it's the best one because you can't go and beat the classics, but obviously this gave us the revival of the series that we needed for a long, long time. I mean, the lens of John Kramer, like actually being in his shoes for this entire movie and seeing what he sees, is probably one of the best things that I have seen in a while. Best point of view, best direction, and you really get a sense to know that he's not a bad person and he values good people. But once he realizes that the good people were actually bad and then the movie plot really takes off, they did a lot of setup to this one, which really gave you a dip into the process of how he goes around kidnapping these people and then putting them in the games. But the setup process took a lot longer just because you needed to have a sense of the pain that John was feeling. Now, there were a couple of plot holes and what ifs that I just, you obviously got to point out, and there are going to be spoilers starting now. So if you don't want to listen to it, just, go forward. But I will say this. I don't know how he didn't realize that his head wasn't shaved or there wasn't any sort of stitches in his head, because I just didn't get how she gave him painkillers. But then, yeah, I that made no sense to me. Like, he just took off the bandage and then he realized he got conned when there was no headache or anything. So that's like the thing is I just don't think that the scam was convincing enough. But other than that, I'll forgive it just because as they dipped into the games, these were not only some of the goriest games in the franchise that I have seen in a long time, like actually making me wince in my seat. Crazy. But there was emotion behind them, and these people were at their core evil, and then it gets even more seriously messed up that they're evil when you realize that the last two remaining end up putting Jigsaw and Amanda Young, by the way, who comes back, and let me tell you, Shawnee Smith sells this performance really well. She looks a little older, obviously. It has been like nearly 20 years, but they gave her a new hairstyle and they let her go, and you could tell that she has not forgotten playing the character of Amanda Young. But I digress. The bad guys end up putting a completely innocent child in this game just to try and prove a point to Jigsaw. Well, what happens if an innocent person gets locked? And you see the devastation on Jigsaw's face, how you think that he thought it was going to go far. He just didn't know it was going to get this far. And he really viewed the boy as an unforeseen consequence. And this is where the hero aura on John Kramer really shined. And he wasn't just an anti-hero. He was the hero in this one. And he was the savior. And as they put him in this trap and he does whatever he can to save this little boy's life, it ends up being a double cross trap because it's set on by a tripwire that activates another gas chamber, which traps the last two people in the gas chamber, and only one can survive. Now, the thing about this is when we left the movie, this really hardcore fan right next to me, which is really nice how the universe throws these synchronicities on you, is the kid asked me, he said, what is going to happen to that woman? Because she is still alive. And I said, dude, she's stuck there with the bodies, the paper evidence in the bag of all the people that she scammed. Even if the authorities come to get her, this paints a very bad picture. And I don't think anyone's going to listen to her on her trial. Like, she's going to be guilty. So I think that she would have probably been better off dead had the trap ended up succeeding in killing her and saving the other guy. But you get a good shot of Amanda and John walking this boy out, giving him the money, and just making sure that this boy was okay. Because at the end of the day, in their minds, obviously, they're the heroes of a sick society. And that's the thing, is we don't really, a lot of us don't see Jigsaw in this way. So I don't think we needed to have the Jigsaw not being a total evil guy spelled out for us, because those of us who understand the franchise understand that Jigsaw is actually somewhat sympathetic once you get down to the meat and potatoes of his backstory. But this one really did bring it to the forefront, which was really nice. Like, that tone of just him being brought out in this complete light, not this dark aura that he normally is, was a super refreshing breath of fresh air. And just seeing it out there in my face, spelled out to me, I enjoyed. But I recommend you go see the movie and the full story just to see what I'm talking about, even though I've already just spoiled a ton of it for you. But you did get that spoiler warning. But I do want to say, seeing Amanda Young and John Kramer back on the big screen together, working together, having the emotional trips of this, and they really highlighted the emotions of Amanda and how she's handling learning under Jigsaw and keeping his legacy going after he passes on, was really handled well. It wasn't anything new, but the fact that they stayed consistent in that one, because during the original 3 Saw movies, in which Amanda Young and Jigsaw were both intertwined and just interacting as human beings, they brought that one out to the light. So you could tell that the heart and soul of the original movies was still there. And yes, there's a post-credit scene which has Mark Hoffman in there, because obviously he's calling up a detective throughout the movie to do all the detective work for him. And it was Hoffman. I didn't need that spelt out for me, but you could also see how he got all the information throughout his games and how Hoffman was a tool and a useful one for John Kramer. But I would like to say that there was one part of the movie, besides the head shave moment, but the whole games in the movie depended on one guy surviving a test, right? And the one thing I would ask myself is, would they be able to shake down information about this group like they would have had this guy not survive the pipe bomb in the forearm test? I don't know how that would have gone. I don't know how that movie would have played out. Hey man, sometimes you just got to have plot armor. Sometimes movies just have to kind of lack that what if, because sometimes, thinking what if all the time could be a very negative thing. I mean, you got to make a decision. But that's just at least me trying to pick out inconsistencies in the writing that I saw, just because I want you to know that this is not the perfect movie, but Hollywood puts out trash piece after trash piece year after year now. But to see something like this hit the big screen, especially on such an underground franchise as the Saw movies, I gotta say, man, they hit a high note. And I wish more movies were made like this nowadays, because it's a shame that we have all this great technology and all this movie magic and we waste it on just garbage flicks. But out of all the ones, because like I said before, Saw gets a bad rap for just being a torture film, a snuff film, but this was the most substance in a film I've seen in movies in a long time. But I recommend you go see it. I give it 7 out of 10 by movie standards, 10 out of 10 by Saw standards. Hook, line, and sinker. This is the movie that the franchise needed for a long time, and I hope you guys go see it. Peace out. Bye.